Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how to troubleshoot the NLBA1 device. I have selected 5 different situations. The first one, how to check if the device powers up correctly. For this I will connect the DC power supply to the DC input and the power LED lights up. If the power LED is on, then the device is powered correctly. If the power LED is off, then it's possible that the AC adapter is faulty. We can check the voltage on the AC adapter connector. The measured voltage should be around 19 volts DC. If a different value is measured, then something is wrong with the AC adapter and it needs to be replaced. The second issue, how to troubleshoot the NLBA1 device missing from the device combo list. Let's assume that we have connected everything, but the device is not shown into the device list. The first step we need to check is to verify if the prolific USB driver is installed into the computer. In the control panel programs, we type prolific and we need to find this PL2303 USB to serial driver. If the driver is not found, then we need to reinstall the NLBA1 software application which contains the PL2303 driver. If the driver is found and the device is still not present into the device list, what we have to do is to check the USB chip inside of the NLBA1 device. For this we have to open the enclosure, but this is possible only after an agreement with the supplier, otherwise the warranty is lost. I have here the PCB assembled. The USB chip is this U1 chip. If the driver is installed correctly and it is not detected and the USB cable is fine, it's not broken, then this chip has to be replaced. This chip can be found on the eBay or AliExpress, but make sure that it is 100% original, genuine, otherwise it will not work. The next issue is how to troubleshoot the NLBA1 device not connecting to the server. I have here an NLBA1 device which is faulty, and I'm going to show you this issue. So the device is detected. I press connect button and then it shows connecting, then returns to connect. It means that something is bad with the connection between PC and the device. The first step we need to check is to make sure that we power up the device correctly. So the following sequence should be checked. We connect first the DC power, then we connect the USB cable. This order is important. The USB cable should not be left alone without the DC power. If the device is powered up only by the USB, it's not good. Both should be connected at the same time. Okay, so we connected the DC power supply first, then the USB cable, then we try again. I press connect, connecting, then the button switches back to connect, so it's not connected to the server. Okay, in this situation, I have to pull out the PCB from the device. Here I have a good device. I will do some measurements on a good device as a reference. The first thing I have to check is to measure if the main chip is U5, which is the brain of the device, to measure if the U5 chip is not short, so the ground and voltage are not shorted for this chip. We have here the 6P programming connector, and I will measure here the resistance between V and G, between voltage and ground, first and second pin. So this is a good device. So for a good device, the measure values is about 500 ohms. Another test is to connect the DC power to power on the device and to measure the voltage on the voltage supply for the U5 change. The voltage is present on the same pins V and G. The measured value for a good device should be 3.5 volts with a tolerance, accepted tolerance 0.1. Okay, this is a good device. If we measure here a voltage lower, like 1 volt or 0 point something, then the device, the chip U5 is shorted. We can also see if we measure the resistance. When the U5 chip is shorted, then the LM317 chip gets hot because it goes into the overcurrent protection. The solution in this situation is to replace the U5 chip. The U5 chip is a microcontroller which has a file of firmware inside. So if you buy a new chip from the market, it will be blank and it will not work. The only way to get it right is to be supplied by us. The chip will be supplied by us with the firmware correctly flashed and a new device ID. This is the solution in this case. Okay, the fourth issue is to check the voltage generator. The voltage generator is important for charging the batteries. For this, I will power on this device, connect the DC jack, then the USB cable. The device is detected. I press connect. It's connecting, yes. I go into the device control tab. Then I set the output voltage to 10 volts and then press enable. The measured value between G and V should be about 10 volts. An accepted tolerance is about 0.5 volts. Let's assume that we have here a different value. We have a much higher value than 10 volts, or we have a much lower value than the 10 volts. In this case, we need to pay attention to this chip XL4005. This is the buck inverter which controls the output voltage. If this chip is blown or there are some physical issues on the package, then of course it is damaged and it has to be replaced. Right now this device outputs 10 volts. I will do some measurements as a reference for your investigations. So I'll connect the black probe on the ground. Then on the first pin we have the ground. On the second pin we should have 0.8 volts, which is the reference. Then on the fourth pin we should have 3.5 volts, which is the enable voltage. On the last pin we should have the input voltage from the AC adapter, 19 volts. Okay, if there are other values measured on this chip, then this chip could be broken and it has to be replaced. This chip can be easily found on the AliExpress or eBay. And the last issue I want to show you how to troubleshoot is the situation when the device does not read any battery. In this case, we need to be sure that we connected the battery 100% correctly. We connected a good battery, but the device is still not reading that battery. The first test is to disconnect the power supply, the USB cable and the battery, and then to measure we have here the clock and data lines. We need to measure if the clock and data lines are not shorted to ground. So I will set the multimeter to resistance and then measure the resistance between ground and clock. So the resistance should be around 2.7 kilo, and the resistance between ground and data should be also 2.7. Okay, so these are the correct values. Of course there is a tolerance accepted. Another test is to measure the voltage on the clock and data. I will connect the DC power, so no USB cable is needed for this test. I will switch the multimeter to voltage, and then I will measure the voltage between ground and clock, then between ground and data. Ground and clock we have 2.6 volts, and ground and data 2.6, the same. Okay, let's assume that we measure different values. We see here that we have two diodes, Zener diodes, D6 and D7. These are diodes used for the protection. D6 is connected to the data and D7 is connected to the clock. If we measure a wrong value, for example, a wrong resistance for the data or a wrong voltage for the data, then we have to remove the D6 diode because it is damaged, it is faulty, and then to try again to read the battery, but make sure that after removing the D6 diode, the device U5 pins are not protected at all. So make sure the battery is connected 100% correctly. If we remove the D6 diode and the communication works, then the D6 diode is broken. It has to be replaced. The value for the D6 and D7 is Zener diode 3.6 volts, mini ELF package, and the power is 0.5. So these are the specifications for these two diodes. Okay, that's it from my side. I hope you enjoyed the video and see you next time. Bye.